Really, we must say that clinical pharmacology as a science is a certain bridge that connects theory and practice. And in this respect, it is quite clear today that the science that studies the effect of drugs on the human organism in respect of safety, efficacy, especially in the COVID conditions, becomes very important. And the origin and the establishment of the drug in real conditions very much depends not only on the data of clinical trials, of evidence that is not disputed, but also on the data that create during assessing and interpreting this data in clinical practice. And here we cannot do without digitalization here. And systematic survey, meta-analysis to reach a new level, they are to be digitalized. Many levels that we are assessing today are not related to artificial intelligence so far. When we speak about the new level, these are the new technologies of artificial intelligence, AI, and they can, of course, so creative activities, of course, are a prerogative of the human mind, but still we need to move forward to achieve some creative tasks. And now you know that we have a whole network now, mobile technologies, applications, manufacturers, servers, centralized servers, and they are coming closer to the functions that are more relevant to human mind. But given the future analysis of biobanks, we think that the prospects will be widened. But today, we have a more trivial task since we have a large flow of drugs and medicines. Uh, so it is the work of clinical pharmacologists. And I would like to share the data that are a result of our own research in the field of generic use. We know that there is a very serious area in the United States on creating and managing the Orange Book. That is created on the stage of development and on the stage of clinical application of generics. But in the Russian Federation, we haven't yet reached this decision. Probably in the future, this decision will come when Pharma 2020 program has been implemented. So we made a study to forecast the results of efficacy of generics on the basis of the bioequivalence, on the basis of the step-by-step statistical analysis of informative factors. We did it jointly with an institute of Yaroslавской State Medical University, and they made a meta-analysis that united the results of 7,985 studies. So here we speak about variable drugs, where the velocity and the degree of where the velocity is variable in one and the same subject. And the coefficient of intra-individual variability is over 30. Even in these conditions, we see that it may lead to some changes in the assessment of results when even when there is no equivalence, we get a very convincing data about the bioequivalence of the drug. The following drugs can be referred to the drugs with a low therapeutic range: valproic acid, warfarin, antibiotics, and the therapeutic range can be very different, and it may lead to a lower effect or to some adverse events. On the basis of on the results of calculations, we could choose the design of the study of generics, and we on the basis of automation, we found an algorithm of decision making by the score system. If the score is over 3 or below 6, these are non-informative results. If they are below 6, they are not equivalent, and probably then pharmacoecological study may be advised. If there is more equal or more than 3, then these are equivalent results, and we can do pharmacokinetic research. But it can be used not only for forecasting the efficacy, but it is also for planning trials, and we can also use them for the drugs that have already been market authorized. Besides, a very important area today is the use of various systems for diagnostics, awareness, motivation, so to collect the proper information. All opportunities of mobile phones, tablets should be used. And today they already allow to make very important conclusions. And we have seen such results after the vaccine, for example, has already been issued and has already been used. That's why in this case, the collection of spontaneous reports about adverse events, drug-related adverse events, the efficacy of drugs, low efficacy, they require special attention. Since the medical personnel is very busy, there is a deficit of time that has a negative effect on the collection of these results. In this connection, we have developed a software product, ways of informing about adverse events that allows without spending much time to make a call to the site and to automatically fill in the required form with the preliminary advice of the pharmacologist. That software was invented at Yaroslavel in 2019. And here you see one of the screens. You see, here I show you the automated system of data collection integrated with MedRA. So the format for the exchange of messages on safety is regulated by the management of the International Conference on Harmonization. This level allows, at least in the region, to use the opportunities of increasing the collection by doctors, by providers, by patients, and to increase the level of reliability that can be introduced in other regions and on the federal level of the Russian Federation. That would simplify the collection of adverse events of drugs. And how can we increase the management and reliability of the data about the efficacy and safety of pharmacotherapy in real clinical practice when the data are so different and we do not always have the full amount of information? Of course, in the real situation connected with pandemic, it is very, very important. We must understand that the population approach from a population approach from the clinical trials, we should come to the efficacy of our therapies in clinical practice and start using personalized approach. Because when we go up, our final goal is to ensure personalized treatment of each specific patient. There are very many programs, software programs, there are prototypes of applications, but we have made our own systems. So one of them was made by an expert from Nizhny Novgorod. She developed the program for the assessment of pharmacotherapy efficacy. And there are also prototypes of applications for the estimation of costs and efficacy of the conducted therapy. So the method of Fishburne was suggested for this purpose. So the result is the distribution of drugs by the levels of their clinical efficacy. There are three levels: high, medium, and low. Here you have an example of some drugs from different groups and the level of their clinical efficacy. The program for defining the interval of the clinical efficacy uses curves of B distribution of clinical efficacy with the opportunity of visual comparative analysis. So this is a numerical interval of possible clinical efficacy of the drug when it is transferred to a different group of patients with the same nosology. So the program provides an opportunity to compare the volume of the sampling in case of similar outcomes. So such an assessment was made, assessment of antibiotics and bronchial asthma on pediatric patients, and we saw that on the treatment, on the therapy in children led to development of asthma in the future. So these are the data of the foreign trials, but they are reproduced with the use of our own data. So the entry data are the number of positive outcomes, the number of negative outcomes, and the average cost of the course and this therapy scheme. And then we see the graphic visualization in the form of the distribution cloud. And here we can assess graphically the coefficients of cost and efficacy. And one more important aspect is the statistical significance. It is impossible to show statistic of different groups and to find the confidence interval. And it is possible with the help of this program. Also, there are some prospects that we are working at. On the basis of this program, we may forecast the needs for this or that drug on the level of a specific hospital and on the federal level. We are using definite formulas that are used in our country and abroad. So all these difficult issues are to be united into some integral system. And with the help of RWE, we will be able to do it, to bring together the results of all trials, and we will be able to manage the information risk factors that are connected with the drug therapy. This is one more software product which is called management of risk factors in providing cardiological aid. You know, dispensarization is or regular examination is very difficult to organize, and here you see the automated module which was registered as an invention. And this module allows to assess all the information about the patient, all test results, all the necessary data, the investment of the contribution of the doctor, and all the doctors that treated the patient, and all the documents, all the reports about the patient. And for each patient that was registered as a cardiovascular patient, there is a definite base. And without this base, it is very difficult to forecast the need for medical drugs. Graphically, we also assessed the efficacy, the reduction of the reduction of the medical performance and medical aid provided to the patient. It also includes the process of monitoring. We have to affect the manageable factors, data collection, consolidation of the data, and with the help of this process, we can identify groups of factors like as consumer, infrastructure, situational, technological, and the sources of data and how they can be managed. And so this program, the software helped to make all this data manageable. Now we are making a drug directory for medical specialists. It was created in 2016. So the optimization of, there are very different areas of optimization, and we have various areas where we could optimize cardiological aid. Some of the approaches that were popular are obsolete today. Some tendencies have changed for the last few years. And here we speak about personalization, rational pharmacotherapy, risk-oriented approach, and the digitalization of the regional system. Digitalization will allow to find resources to raise the efficacy of our therapeutic opportunities. When we speak about automation, so this is a black box because every software has its disadvantages. To what extent would it be necessary to disclose to the doctor that he cannot fully interpret these recommendations on diagnostic or treatment? And what about the cases where when the patient may be reluctant to allow using some categories of data, how to balance the confidentiality of the patient with safety and efficacy? All these issues are to be discussed from the point of view of ethics, and the journal Medical Ethics that will be issued soon is devoted to the questions of automation, artificial intelligence, and ethics, bioethics. So soon we will accept guidelines on ethics, and these guidelines are meant for specialists of different profiles, and there are issues of artificial intelligence and other issues that are associated with the presentation that I have made.